define model resides inside this controller. So these are the components of MVC and how it applies to AngularJS. We have different AngularJS directive. First is the ng app. The ng app directive auto bootstrap on AngularJS application. The ng app directive defines the root element of an AngularJS application. So if you are considering whatever lies in that division of the HTML application belongs to AngularJS, you can mention the div marker with the ng app directive. The ng init directive initializes application data. We have just seen an example. ng model directive binds the value of HTML controls to the application data. And ng repeat directive repeats an HTML element. We'll see. And AngularJS directives create new directives. We can also create our own directives. New directives are created by using the dot directive function. We invoke the new directive, make an HTML element with the same tag name as the new directive. When it's like creating a new HTML element, okay, so user define HTML element. When naming a directive, you must use a camel case naming. That is, this is the camel case naming. But when invoking it, you must use separated name. So this is the name. Okay, this is the convention while creating the new directive. We have, while naming the directive, we have to use camel case naming. But when we are invoking, we have to use hyphen separated name. So W3 test directive, W3 is small, T is capital, D is capital. Okay, so after W3, use a dash and then small t, use a dash and small d. You can invoke a directive by using element name, attribute, class, or comment. We will see with the examples. Now here you can see an example how a new directive can be created. Okay, where the new directive is created, you can see over here. Okay, we have just called the directive over here. But this body is nothing but it's a body of ng app, my app. So this is totally a complete application, complete AngularJS application, because whole body belongs to ng app, my app. We can have multiple application inside one body as well, which may incorporate different parts of your application by using the div tag. Now here in my app, we have used a newly created directive. What is it? W3-test directive. Okay, it has to be called by using the markup with this name. Okay, now where is it created? It's created in the script, that is controller. So we have variable app equal to angular.module, my app. This line is very must. When you want to access your application inside your JavaScript, we have to create an app variable equals angular.module, just because this app is part of the module. Okay, and angular.module, my app is the name of the ng app, and then comma and array. So in app directive, we are going to define W3 test directive function. Okay, so what does it mean? We are applying the functionality to this W3 test directive. Okay, we are defining this W3 test directive, a new directive, and its functionality we are going to define by using this function. This is the way to create new directive. App.directive, name of the directive, comma, the function which is associated with that directive. Now what is that function? We are having return. So when we are calling this directive, when we are using this directive, what do we want? We want it to return template colon h1 made by a directive h1, and then curly bracket complete for this return, this curly bracket complete for the function, bracket complete for app directive. Okay, so what we want, this function, the functionality of this directive W3 test directive is nothing but we want to return template okay, which says it is H1 header made by a directive. Okay, let us see what happens with the example. Okay, I will just copy this. Let me share the complete screen. Okay, now we have already seen an example over here. Okay, we can simply change it to accept our new code. Okay, so Control V, Control S. Okay, now we will open. I have just saved. We have these changes over in this ng application. Let me minimize this. We have Angular one made by a directive. What has happened? Even if I have used W3 test directive, it has worked. What it worked to? It worked to show me a header of type H1. Okay, just because a template was provided. Okay, how do we provided the template? The template was provided. It returns the template colon H1 made by a directive. Okay, so you can change the features. This is simply the JavaScript function wherein you can apply the features that you want to that new directive. Now next is the AngularJS expression. AngularJS expressions can be written inside double braces, double curly brace. Okay, I hope it's visible. Let me stop sharing and let me share it once again so that it is properly visible to you. Okay, and then I have to increase the font as well. Okay, I hope it's visible now. Fine. AngularJS expression can be written inside the double curly braces. AngularJS expression can also be written inside a directive ng bind and equals in double quotes the expression you have to write. Okay, so that it will get evaluated and the result value will be assigned to the control. Okay, so ng bind is for assigning the value of a variable to the control, to the HTML control. If we don't have any value exactly, we can have an expression of some variable value as well. Okay, we have to just place it in double quotes. So div ngapp, this is an example. Now we have ngapp, we haven't given any name. Ng init equals quantity equals 1 semicolon cost equals 5. So ng init is used to initialize the variables. Okay, we have two variables, quantity equals 1 semicolon cost equals 5. The separation is done by using the delimiter semicolon. Now paragraph, my first expression, as we have seen, we can either use double curly brace or we can use ng bind. Okay, so we have used double curly brace and this expression is evaluated. Okay, or we can use the ng bind. So span, we have here span element wherein we are going to use ng bind equals in double quotes you have to write the expression quantity multiplied by cost slash span slash p div. Okay, so this is how the expressions will get evaluated. Let us see this with the code. Okay, I have to share, right? I have just copied the code in the same code as that of the previous. Let me share you the tab where I opened the Angular file itself. Oh, this is the old one. Fine. Share this tab instead. You can see here my first expression is evaluated to 10 and total in dollar is 5. Okay, So what code do we have? We have the code my first expression is 5 plus 5, so it is evaluated to 10, and total in dollar is quantity multiplied by cost. Quantity value is 1, cost is 5, so 1 multiplied by 5 is 5. You can see it here. Okay, so let us resume the presentation. Okay, so this is how it works. Now next is the expression bind AngularJS data to HTML the same way as ngbind directive. We have used the curly braces. It is same. You can do the changes. Okay, you can check it. Fine. Now, how does it work? We have already seen with the example actually the use of ND model. In the very first example, we have checked that the contents of a text box can be assigned to a variable, okay, which can be directly used in the same application. So same variable, this first name variable we have used over here, where we have assigned the first name. Okay, the input text box, the contents of input text box have been binded to, we have this bound with the ng model. Okay, we have just bound. Now here we have the binding with the last name using ng model to the last name variable. Okay, and we have over here the full name. We use the expression first name plus last name. So what will happen immediately, as we are going to get the contents of the input type text in the first name, and here for last name, both the contents will be available as and when we are typing for the full name. Okay, we do have the script as well. It is must for us to create an app variable and assign to it the Angular dot module name of the app and array notation. Okay, that is the parameters to the app if any, but we are not using any over here. What we have instead is the ng controller. Okay, this is very important, how to use the ng controller. We have here created the ng controller in this div markup, where we are defining the app. Whenever we define the app with that particular markup, the Angular application is getting started. Now in this HTML page, we can have multiple div markups, but for this particular div markup, we have defined the Angular app. Okay, as my app. We can have my app 1, my app 2, depending upon the different parts or divisions of the HTML application. Here we have used ng controller directive, to which we have assigned the name my control. Okay, now to make this controller work, it is must for us to write the script, because control is going to control the value of the variables, okay, which we are binding to the view. So we have here variable app equals angular.module my app. This is for initializing the application. It is must. And then app.controller my control, and then the functionality of the controller. Okay, so app.controller we have to use the way we used app.directive to add a new directive. If you want to add the controller functionality, we have to use app.controller name of the controller that we have just initialized for this particular application. Then the function dollar scope is must. Always we will discuss what is it. Okay, dollar scope, it's like this variable, so it is going to access the variables inside this application. Okay, so dollar scope dot first name, it means the first name variable that we have defined for the input type text. Dollar scope dot last name, it is the same variable that we have in our application. We have assigned the values in the controller, and the script is completed. Okay, so this is how it works. Let us see how it works in the program. Okay, let me copy this example. You can see it over here as well. Okay, so control C. We are just adding a controller. It is the part of div. Okay. So we have it here. Let us see how does it. Okay, I have to share with you. Let me share the screen. I have already executed that part. Okay, you can see. Fine. You can see what we have assigned to this variable is John and Doe in the script in the controller part. So immediately it gets assigned to those variables wherever those appear. So first name is over here, it appears over here. So the John and Doe, these two values of the first name and last name will appear over. If in case I want to change, you can simply change it through text box and the variable value will be also changed. Okay. Okay, fine. I think there are many things we have to learn about AngularJS. Okay, the number of directives, different types of AngularJS module, then the controller. Okay, how to use it again with different options. The see this there are number of ways the questions can be asked in exam as well, so you must be thoroughly running what is dollar scope. This can be a question. Okay, even if it is MCQ, we may have multiple options, but only if we have got the knowledge of what is dollar scope exactly, then only we will be able to choose the correct option. Okay, so just try to understand. You have to prepare your application as well. The assignment list has been already loaded. Okay, and for write up, you have to prepare the six write ups. Okay, the guidelines I have already told you. You are going to prepare it in your soft copy. Okay, get it in finalized with me, and then that will be shared for all. Fine. So we will stop now. Okay, we will study more about this. We have just studied this example. We will study more about the directives, modules, and controllers, which is very important to know how to write in controller different functionalities with respect to the client side framework. We will study it next lecture. So thank you. Actually, I was to explain you the execution. Okay, I'll get some other lecture, other subject lecture, and I will explain that time the execution of different programs. How does it work? Fine. So thank you everyone. Let me stop recording and then attendance.